What is up, guys? Your Doomsday here, back with another video, and today we got something special. We're going to be looking at wave management and how to manipulate waves in different ways to try and use it to your advantage. And if we could hit 400 subs and 50 likes with this video, I'll actually make a video on lane exchange and how to win those. So, today the first thing we're going to be talking about is CS. For those of y'all that don't know what CS is, CS pretty much stands for creep score, and it's just how many minions you last hit in a match. And you can see how many you have since it's displayed in the top right near it's like next to a minion picture thing. So, why is CS so important, you might ask? Last hitting minions in lane and jungle, that's pretty much what gets you all your gold. And it'll either get you ahead of your laner or make you fall behind. And I mean, even if you have less kills than your opponent, it's possible to still have more gold if your last hits are so much better. That's why lane management is so important, since it can actually help you last hit minions and create opportunities for your team to get ahead. So some of y'all still might think that CS isn't that important or anything, so let's just look at a small example here. So, minion waves spawn every 25 seconds, and we're just going to assume that you miss, I don't know, just the second smallest minion, we'll assume. It's just the second smallest one, you'll think, and it's only worth 45 gold. So you think, it's only 45 gold, that doesn't even matter at all, right? But 2.4 minion waves spawn every second, and if you miss 45 gold every single time, that adds up to 108 gold per minute. You still may think, 108 gold, that's barely anything, but that's wrong, since in an actual match, after like 3 minutes or so, the enemy laner will be like over 300 gold ahead, and they'll have more items than you. And once the enemy gets ahead and they get more items, it's just so much easier to bully you and force you back. And when you're underneath pressure, it's so much harder to get farm, and the difference between you and your enemy laner will grow exponentially. Okay, so now that y'all understand CS and how important it actually is, let's move on to the meat of the video. So, for each type of wave management, we're going to be looking at 4 questions for all these strategies. And they are, what is it, how to do it, why would you want to do it, and when do you want to do it? So the first thing we're going to do is just start off with the basics, just pushing. So what is pushing? Pushing is just whenever you attack the minions and clear them as fast as you can when getting the last hits to force your minion wave to move forward. So, how to push? Most people think that the most effective way to push is by just attacking the closest minions and killing them as fast as you can, but that's actually not the most effective way to push. The most effective way that almost nobody does, and very few pros even do, is by just attacking all the minions first and getting them low and then clearing up the last hit. This is more effective since the minions stay alive for longer. Since you're only getting the minions low and you're not completely killing them, they'll stay alive for longer, and then since they're alive for longer, they'll just do more damage to your minions, and they'll kill more of your minions, which will deny the enemy more CS or farm. So that'll make them have less gold and help you get ahead in lane by a little bit. But this is not necessarily like a must do, but it's definitely a plus. It'll help you get ahead little by little, and if you want to be one of the best, you probably should, since it definitely does help a little bit. Okay, so the next way to push is by using Minion Candies. Minion Candies are a great way to push, since they increase the health of your minions and also increase the damage. And that just makes it so much easier to push and take turrets, since they're so much tankier and they can live for so much longer. So, now moving on to why would you want to push. Pushing lanes will either can make your minions go into the enemy turret range, which is a must, since to actually destroy enemy turrets, you have to have your minions in range of their turrets. So that's one reason why you have to. Another reason is, whether you realize it or not, whenever you push minions underneath the enemy turret, it just makes it so much harder for the enemy laner to get their farm. Like, I'm pretty sure everybody has experienced this, that whenever you're underneath turret, you always have to worry about how much damage the turret will do, and will you have enough damage to last hit it, and all of that. That's another reason why it's good. And it's also good since whenever you push a lane, you're free to rotate around the map and it'll take longer for the enemy to try to get your turret since your wave is pushed all the way under their turret. And it'll open you up to more rotations and stuff, which will help your team out. So when do you want to push now? You always want to push and try to get turrets whenever you have a numbers advantage. So like in bot lane, whenever you have your 2v1, you always want to just try and push as much as you can. And you also want to make sure to push your lane whenever you're rotating to jungle, no matter what lane you're in. If you're in mid lane, top lane, bot lane, you always want to push your minions before you go to jungle. That way, it'll take longer for the enemy to get their minions underneath your turret and make it so you lose less farm. Or else, if you don't push, they'll just kill your minions and then the enemy minions will go underneath your turret and you'll lose more minions. So that's it for pushing. Up next, we're going to start getting to more complicated things. First up, we have slow pushing. So what is slow pushing? I think that slow pushing is probably the most underrated and important technique for late game. Pretty much, slow pushing is just when the enemy minions are pushing onto your side of the map and pressuring you, but you manipulate the wave to make sure that it builds minions in your favor and it pushes back towards the enemy. So, how to slow push? The most effective way that I find to slow push is to kill the smallest minions, since the small minions are the ones that do most of the damage actually, but they have the least amount of health. So if you kill all the small minions that do all the damage, then the enemy will only have minions with a lot of health and very low damage left. And this will create a large amount of your minions to stack up and to slowly push back against the enemy, since the minions that are big don't do much damage and they can't kill your minions. But you also have to be wary about captain minions, since those actually do damage. So it's usually nice if you kill those too. So, why would you want to slow push? Slow pushing is the most effective and underused method in late game. It's used to split the enemy team apart in the map, and for example, let's just look at an example. If your entire team is in the top part of the map around Blacklaw and the enemy's all there too, but if you created a slow push in the bot lane, so it's all the way on the other side of the map, you're pretty much the MVP of that fight. Since the enemy, they'll either have to go back to stop a slow push, because a slow push will take the turret pretty much no matter what, and if they go to clear the wave so they don't lose their turret, you could fight the enemy for a 5v4, or you could just go for Blacklaw, and it's easy win just like that. So, when do you want to slow push? I find that the best time to slow push is during late game, because whenever the enemy minions are pushed against your turret, you could just go over and kill the small minions, and then your team can just group up all on the other side of the map, and once the enemy goes to clear the minion waves in the bottom, just go for a team fight or take an objective, and easy just like that. So, the last thing we're going to be looking at today is freezing your lane. Freezing lane is when you don't attack the enemy minions to let them keep, so that the enemy minions keep on attacking your minions, and the enemy does not get last hits unless they overextend and place themselves in a vulnerable place. This is kind of hard to explain, but when you see it, you will understand it. So, pretty much, freezing lane is like you're keeping the wave in a certain spot where the enemy cannot get to, so that the enemy, and then you don't attack their minions so that their minions stay alive longer, causing the enemy to lose more CS, since if they have more minions, they'll do more damage to yours. But they just can't come and get it, just because they would have to overextend so much. So, how to freeze lane. All you have to do to freeze a lane is pretty much not attack the enemy minions at all, except for the last hits. So my favorite times to do this are either in bot lane whenever you have two people in lane, but you know that you won't be able to push turret, or in top lane if you happen to just lose turret early, or you accidentally screw up and die and lose turret, like 2 minutes into a match. Then if you freeze lane right outside of the second turret, like in this video over here, then you could just last hit minions, and since it's still early in the game, the enemy bot laner doesn't even have much farm yet, and they'll really have to overextend and go out to get their farm and last hits. And if you're playing a character like Rezo or somebody that's powerful in top lane, you can easily kill the bot laner if they go too close, Or it can even create opportunities for your teammates to rotate up and go for an easy gank. So why would you want to freeze lane? Freezing lane, it just makes it simply harder for the enemy to get last hits, and they lose more last hits, and it pretty much starves them of last hits, which makes them have less gold in turn. So when do you want to freeze lane? As I described earlier, the best places are top lane if you lose turret early, or bot lane if you're unable to push and take the turret, or if the enemy is low on health. The reason why it's called freeze lane is because you want the minion wave to stay in the same spot and not move forward or backwards. Pretty much by doing this, you have to make sure that the amount of damage on both sides is even so that neither side pushes. Pretty much, you might have to kill an extra minion or two just to make sure that the wave doesn't push forward or that it doesn't push against you. So that's pretty much all you have to do to freeze lane. And trust me, like 2 minutes into the match, if you're freezing lane right in the spot, it's gonna make it so hard for the enemy bot laner. Since the game had just started, they barely have any farm, but they can't get to their farm without pretty much dying. So I really like it, but you have to be careful about when to do it, because it's very hard to time right. So that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and remember, if we hit 50 likes and 400 subscribers with this video, I will make the best video ever on lane exchange and trading. And if y'all got any ideas or suggestions for me, make sure to comment down below, and that's gonna be it. See you guys later.